Today's video we're going to talk about clearing the hips. It's something that you have likely tried or are currently working on. It's something that is really important. I'm going to show you exactly why you need to work on it and how you are going to make it so much easier. Let's get stuck into it. In a video that I posted on the channel yesterday, I talked very much about the hands and the arms and the release. And to sort of summarize, what I basically spoke about is, yes, to be able to get that club face square on the back of the ball every time, we need some arm rotation. So we need this sort of motion here. However, if we can get the body more open, so this means the lower, the pelvis and the chest pointing more towards the target, then we have to do less arm rotation to be able to square the face. So the benefit is the more open your body, the less kind of club face closure that you need to do, which theoretically means it should be an easier swing. How do we actually do it? I think in terms of the rotational aspect, that's pretty simple, because the idea is you just need to turn literally your chest and your pelvis towards the target. And if you struggle with that, then just let your head move with you as well. If I allow my head to kind of move before the club was to theoretically hit the ball, that's the simplicity when it comes to rotation. So every golfer can do this sort of motion. The problem is how you rotate, and one of the things that we need to make sure we get correct is something known as hip depth. Now what hip depth basically means is it's maintaining the distance between my setup position to when I strike the golf ball. Let's elaborate on that. If I was hitting in this direction, then what I would do is I'd obviously set up to the golf ball, and if we drew a line on the back of my hips, this would represent my sort of what's known as your tush line, or if you like, your sort of hip depth, right? So in the backswing, the right hip moves back. So what I need to do as I start the downswing is I have to make sure when I'm rotating, I am consciously trying to get the idea of pulling the left hip back first. That's a really important narrative. Lots of students I meet work on hip rotation, but they end up moving the right hip forward first as opposed to the left hip back. A great drill for this is to use an alignment stick. So placing an alignment stick through your front two belt loops, if I sort of swing back and move my right hip forward, you can now see the way it pushes everything over in this direction, and there's very little space to be able to bring the club down. If I move my left hip back, can you see the way my hands and arms can move more in front of the space that's created? So this is quite a difficult drill, but from a visual perspective, if you're a little bit uncertain of how to sort of pull the left hip back, then one of the things you can do is practice with the alignment stick and maintain the space. The other thing you can do is just be aware of your weight pressure. So if you kind of get that blend of rotating, similar to what I said earlier, where I just allow my head, my chest and my lower body to face towards the target, and I simultaneously blend that with the idea of hip depth, then what you should start to notice is the way that your weight moves in towards your kind of lead heel. So as I come in towards this impact area, you can literally see the way that I get the weight moving in towards my lead heel and distributed between my trail toe. So that would be a really good indication that I've managed to rotate towards the target whilst also maintaining hip depth. Okay, so one of the other things that you can keep your eye on is this leg. And I would actually say this is like the paramount thing right now. It's understanding, if you watch me, if I swing back and see as I start this downswing, so the way the upper part of my lead leg starts to move towards the target. Now this is a good indication, meaning that one, I am turning, because as my pelvis rotates, it moves into the leg, which pushes the leg in that type of direction. And the second one is, again, as this continues to move through, as I get the weight in towards that lead heel and I continue that is what is going to straighten that lead leg. So it's not that I'm consciously trying to straighten the leg. I think that's one of the areas that you have to stop doing it, in my opinion. I meet lots of golfers that have been for lessons and they've done things on force plate data and they're just swinging back, they're stumping down, and then they're trying to do something where it won't work that way. What you need to do is just keep turning. Okay, as I keep turning, inevitably the more rotation that occurs here, the more your lead leg will straighten. It's an inevitability. And that's one of the things that you just need to be very, very mindful of. So to get easy and good hip rotation each and every time, the key characteristics are, as you start the downswing, get the consciousness of pulling the left hip back, not moving the right hip forward. The second thing is be mindful of the idea of, as you're rotating, you're trying to face towards the target, and don't lose sight of that whilst you're trying to get the weight pressure in towards that lead heel. And as long as you keep turning and you allow this leg to keep facing forward, then what you'll notice is the way that your lead leg will straighten without forcing this idea of trying to straighten the leg and spin out of it. Personally, I'm not a lover of that. I think you'll notice if you just keep turning through the ball, you'll notice the way that you will end up with a straight leg, much better contact and creating much more space. See you soon.